Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we're going to talk about knowledge. The verse from the Quran that I want to use is one that is very interesting. And it says something to this extent. They ask you about the Spirit. Tell them the Spirit comes from the command of my Lord, and of knowledge you have been given very little. This is an interesting verse from the Quran because it gives you a scene of people asking Prophet Muhammad about spirit, ruh, in the Quran. And, whatever their curiosity is, the Quran, that is the Quranic verse that is revealed, doesn't say very much. It just says, tell them the Spirit is from the command of my Lord, and of knowledge you have been given very little. So what do we do with a statement like this? Because, knowledge is something that we reach for and look for and seek out and seek to increase in ourselves. There's another verse in the Quran that says, say, my Lord, increase me in knowledge. And so there is this aspect of knowing things that is very important in Islam and in the Jewish religion, Judaism, because Moses and other prophets were also seeking knowledge, and you have a statement from Jesus in the Christian scripture that says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And it says you will know the truth. It uses knowledge. It doesn't say you will have faith in the truth or you will believe in the truth. It says you will know the truth, and that knowing of the truth sets you free. And so we have this emphasis on knowledge from the very early days of, all the way through the Jewish prophets and the message of Jesus, and the emphasis in Islam and the Prophet Muhammad on seeking knowledge. And I'm sure a lot of the hadith around knowledge, seeking knowledge from the cradle to the grave, seeking knowledge even unto China. So this kind of lifelong emphasis on learning, understanding, and comprehending has always been there. And we today pride ourselves on being this people who live in the information age, people who live in what's now being referred to as knowledge societies. And I think we need to think about what it means for the role of spiritual humility in an age of information. What is spiritual humility in a knowledge society? Because everyone is going after knowledge and trying to gain knowledge and say they have the knowledge, and other people don't have the knowledge, and you've got to come to this this group to get the knowledge, and so on. And so I want to kind of tease out a few of the layers to this issue, because it's not a simple thing. It's not like knowledge is a place and we can just travel there, and when we get there we have knowledge. It's not something you can eat and say, I ate this and therefore I have knowledge, or a kind of some kind of injection you can get, and I have knowledge, or you go through 4 years of college, or you do some post-grad studies, and then you say, I have knowledge. So I want to be cautious about that, because it's never felt right to me. There's something about that just feels like it promises too much. It's not like, you can go get you can go get various things that you want in this life. You can get food and clothes and medicine and houses and cars and homes and things like that, if you're fortunate. And many people around the world cannot do that, so I acknowledge that. But knowledge isn't something you can just go out and get. There's this idea that if you just go through your schooling, you go through your college, and you'll have it. And I want to just be cautious about that. So what does it mean to gain knowledge? What does it mean to have knowledge? Plato, in his discourses, had this idea that, knowing something is really not something you can have in this earthly terrestrial realm. Knowing is only knowing kind of these universal, eternal, immutable realities that only when you know them do you know. Can you say that you are a knower? And there's a little bit of that in the Quran and the way Allah speaks about knowledge. Now, he's not saying nobody on earth knows anything. He's saying that, it's not as easy as we think. So, the idea is that, when people asked the Prophet about spirit, what is ruh? And the answer that comes back is, we're not going to say very much, and because we've really not given you all very much knowledge to begin with. So the ruh comes from the command of my Lord, and of knowledge you have been given very little. And so all our efforts in the world are really not, seeking and gaining knowledge. They're really about understanding processes that can change. So right now, we understand the physical world to be what it is, and 100 years ago, they had a different understanding of it. And 200 years ago before that, they had a different understanding of it. And 100 years from now and 200 years from now, we will have a slightly different understanding of it. And if you look at our mental world, our emotional world, our psychological world, we had very different understanding of what that is. 200 years ago, the psychology movement, really got triggered and expanded over the last, 125 years or so. And we know a lot more about how the mind works right now. But we may learn new things in the next 100 years and the next 200 years about that. And, what we knew about the stars and in space and things like this, all of that changes. So it's not like it's not like we don't know. So let's start off, step one, we don't know something. Step two, we make an effort. Step three, we know something. It doesn't really work like that, right? It doesn't go from like not knowing to trying to knowing. It seems to be more of a circle of, not knowing, experimenting, hypothesizing, learning a few things, testing them, and kind of, seeing how stable they are, how reliable they are, and then testing more and getting more and more accurate and precise about our understanding. It's not really, we don't really arrive at some final state of knowing. And so this kind of continuous study, continuous exploration, continuous investigation, continuous revising and revisiting the things that we think we know is part of the search for knowledge. And in that, we can find certain patterns and certain concepts and principles that last through time and last through our investigative efforts. It's not like, so if we discover something, 100 years ago, and we're still able to conduct the same experiments and find the same principles and concepts and patterns are in place, then we know we've got something that we can rely on, we can hang on to, because it seems to be of knowledge, not of kind of temporary perception or temporary understanding or temporary points of views or things like that. There's something more lasting about it. And, so this reminds me of that verse, of knowledge you have been given very little. The interesting thing about that verse also is the little bit of knowledge that we have. The most certain piece of knowledge that we've got is the sense of our own existence. The sense of our own existence. There is nothing we will ever know that will be more real to us than the sense of our own existence, right? And this is a famous experiment that Descartes, conducted. René Descartes, he was a French philosopher, and he started off his philosophical investigations by doubting everything that he sees, and doubting everything that he experiences, and doubting every opinion and point of view and ideas and preferences and things that came to him. He doubted it all, because he said, what if I arrived at this through some illusion or delusion or something, and so I will doubt it all. And as he was doubting everything in his experience, and for example, like, I'm in this room, I doubt that this room exists. I doubt that this chair exists. I doubt that this video camera exists. I doubt that this carpet exists. I doubt that this wall exists. I doubt that my glasses exist. I doubt that this shirt exists, and so on. You keep doubting just everything around you. And he found that no matter how much he doubted everything, he could not doubt the fact that there was someone here performing the act of doubting. He could not doubt his own existence. And so if we translate that to some of the other spiritual ideas that we've been talking about, is that sense of being that you have, that sense of existence that you have when you say, I am. That is a piece of knowledge that never goes away. That is a piece of knowledge that you carry with you from the moment you arrive to the moment you leave, and every day in between. And when I hear the verse from the Quran that says, of knowledge you have been given very little, and that little, in the wisdom of Allah, is more than enough. Is more than enough. Because the knowledge of your own being, your own self, your own true core, is a piece of knowledge, and it is little, but that little is huge, because that is the being that you are, and that being is always there, and that being is the one in this temporary place, conducting these temporary investigations and forming temporary ideas about how this place works. And so when I hear that verse, of knowledge you've been given very little, I am always reminded that this little God thought was enough for us to conduct our lives in the world. Now, he does say, keep seeking knowledge, keep seeking more. Oh Lord, increase me in knowledge, is the verse from the Quran. So that little that we've been given, we are now asked to pray and seek to increase and increase and increase and increase and increase, so that we get to a point of being knowers and not just thinkers and not just explorers, um, you know, and that helps us evolve spiritually and evolve closer to Allah and evolve closer to our ability to serve Allah and His creatures in the world. Because the more you know, the more wisely and graciously you can serve. And so this idea that we in this knowledge society are going to do all these studies and then find immediately find some knowledge that makes us knowledge workers in a knowledge society. I think we have to have a kind of humility and know that we don't know everything, and that our ideas can be revised, they can be changed based on different evidence, and this is part of the journey of knowledge itself. That is part of what we're here trying to do, to gain knowledge, to become creatures of knowledge, and to kind of help God take care of His creation in the highest and best and most gracious way possible. And so it's not like you can just go to college and then you'll have knowledge. It's not like you can just read hundreds of books and then you'll have knowledge. It's a lot more mysterious and deeper than that. And at every step of the road, we have to be aware of our own ignorance, of our own limited awareness and our own limited senses and faculties and things like that, and kind of walk softly on the earth, as the Quran says, so that we're not up here going, I know so much. Yeah, you may know some things, so share them, humbly and gracefully. But remember, a good blow to the head, and all our knowledge is gone, right? So this is not really true knowledge. This is just kind of accumulated memories and impressions and senses and imagination and a little bit of logic thrown in and kind of just layered understanding that is all built on kind of a provisional universe that doesn't last, right? So, what is knowledge really? Is it knowledge of temporary things, or is it knowledge of eternal things? Is it knowledge of being? Is it knowledge of becoming? We have to, on our journey of knowledge, we have to get into those layers. Prophet Muhammad may have said, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave, seek knowledge unto China. But you have to unpack that statement and understand that there's a lot more going on, and there's a lot of layers in between. And we have to have the kind of spiritual humility to be able to say, I think I understand this, but Allah, please help me revise my understanding. Help me improve my understanding. Help me go deeper in my understanding. I don't really understand all of it. And I thank you for the window that you have opened for me. Help grant me the gift of opening a larger window so that I can see better, so I can see clearly, more clearly, and so that I can serve my family and my community and my world, and I can serve your creatures accordingly. So this is the kind of approach we can have in our search for knowledge.